So, hi everyone, I'm Lucy and I'm here with my colleague Sarah, and we're so excited to welcome you to All Aboard Learning's Classroom Implementation course. Well done for taking the plunge and committing to 3 sessions with us. This course covers the essentials of actually how to teach a phonics lesson. We'll be starting off with some key phonics terms. If you have been teaching phonics for years, then these might already be familiar to you, but we will move on to some special All Aboard tips and techniques in this session too, which will be vital for everyone. Now, we know that your time is precious, so let's dive in. By the end of the 3-session course, we would like you to develop an understanding of the core techniques to use in a phonics lesson, know and feel confident using the key tools in All Aboard Phonics, and have a secure understanding of the basics for intervention work using All Aboard Phonics Plus. And today in our first session, we have 3 simple aims. To understand what exactly phonics is and the key phonics terms, to explore essential skills and techniques for your phonics lessons, and to share our top tips for phonics delivery. So let's kick off with a bit of background that explains exactly what phonics is. So take a look at this ancient alphabet slide to see how our language developed. Human spoken language is based, of course, on sounds, and our early written language was originally built with symbols that represented those sounds. Our ancestors launched written language using a series of pictures. The onset or the first sound of each object drawn was the sound it represented. So a picture of a mountain might represent the sound. This image shows the path of development of our alphabet. Now, just to make it clear for you, as we work from left to right, we're moving through time. Humans started with a depiction of an ox with horns around 1500 years BC, which then eventually, over hundreds of years, merged into the Greek letter A that our English alphabet is represented upon. Why does this matter? Well, many people think that some words are undecodable, like what we refer to as tricky words. And that simply is not true. Every letter or letter pattern represents a sound. It might be a weird, wacky, and irregular spelling, but each grapheme does represent a sound, and that word can be sounded out. So let's take a look at these 3 irregular words as an example. So for the word said, we would segment it as s-e-d. The e sound comes from the letters AI. E is not the obvious sound we would expect the letters AI to be representing, but that's exactly what AI is doing in this word. And in the word was, we would segment w, o, z, with the letter a representing the o sound and the letter s representing the z sound. And finally, in the word they, we have the voiced th and then the letters ey to represent the a sound. So we have th, a. So every letter pattern in these 3 classic sight words does represent a sound. It's just that sometimes it's a different sound to the one that is actually expected. In the final session of this course, we will show you a really cool way of teaching children to read the tricky words using what we call trainertext. That works like magic for those irregular words. But in the meantime, just know that every word can be segmented and blended, and that is a key principle of phonics. And that is why phonics works better than any other methodology to teach reading. When we teach phonics today, we are actually harnessing the most basic structure of our language. Our language is based on sounds, and our letters represent those sounds. And voila, phonics teaches how to link those sounds to letters to sounds. And that is why it doesn't work to use whole word approaches for English instruction. Throughout the last couple hundred years, people have proposed that teaching children to sight read a word or use context clues to figure out a word based on the first letter, or even to check the accompanying picture for clues is all better than wrestling with boring letter to sound relationships. But I really hope this history gives you some grounding on why phonics has to be the way to go. Scientific evidence has shown that phonics gets the best results of the different options. Okay, so now we know why we use phonics. I'm going to hand you over to Sarah to have a look at the key terms that we use.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks. So let's whiz through some essential phonics terms before we move on. The first term is a phoneme. A phoneme is the smallest unit of sound in a word. For example, the a sound in the word at. A grapheme is a written representation of a phoneme or sound. In plain English, the letters or letters that make the sound. For example, the letter T in the word at, or the letters v, th, for the th sound in the word that. Now, have a look at these 3 words. We have dog, chip, and reading. You will see that dog has 3 phonemes, 3 graphemes, or 3 what will we call GPCs. A GPC stands for grapheme phoneme correspondence. However, look now at the word chip. We have the two letters, C and H, which make the single phoneme ch. So even though the word has 4 letters in it as a whole, it actually only has 3 phonemes and 3 graphemes, or 3 GPCs. Finally, the word reading has 5 GPCs for e, d, I, ng, but 7 letters overall because the EA and NG graphemes each represent a single sound. The number of graphemes in a word is always the same as the number of phonemes. This is a helpful clue, but the number of letters might be different. Now let's pause for a little quiz. Run through the following words with me and see how many GPCs you can count at each one. The first word is man. How many can you count in man? Okay, there are 3 in man. N. Now let's move on to another one. The word is wind. It is 4. N. Okay, final word here, the tricky fright. There are 4 in fright. Okay, hope that went okay for you guys and you're starting to see how it fits together. Now back to our key terms, let's explore digraphs and trigraphs, which are both subtypes of graphemes. A digraph is a type of grapheme containing 2 letters that represents just one phoneme. For example, the SH letters in the word ash that you see on the screen. Here you can see some examples of common digraphs. We have sh, ch, AY for A, EE, OA for O. This is just a small selection. There are tons of them. Now, digraphs, as you can see, can contain vowels or consonants or both. Now, let's see if you can spot any digraphs in the words displayed on the screen. See how many you can count in about 10 seconds, and then I'll tell you the answer. Okay, the answer here is 8. Chip, sing, this, fresh, snow, that's a tricky one, book, bird, and pain. See if you missed any sneaky ones. Now let's do the same thing with trigraphs. You might have guessed this already. If you didn't know it, a trigraph, like a digraph, is a type of grapheme that contains multiple letters, in this case, 3 letters that represent just one phoneme, like the IGH letters in the word light. Here you can see other examples of common trigraphs, IGH, EAR for ear, and then 2 different phonemes for air. For the single phoneme air, 2 different graphemes. We have the AIR and the ARE. English is such a wonderful language. Now I'm going to do the same activity here. Here's a word cloud for you. How many trigraphs can you spot on the screen? Okay, this time there are 5. We have mite, deer, hare, bear, and latch. TCH. It's a tricky one. Okay, major gold stars. If you got them all, we're all works in progress, but hopefully this gives you an overview of some of those more technical phonics terms. There's one final one that I want to run by you. We won't do a quiz for this one. It's called a split digraph. This is a type of grapheme that contains 2 letters that represent one phoneme, but the 2 letters are split with a consonant smack dab in the middle. So you can see in the word cake, we have the A and the E letters divided up by the K letter. The A and the E are actually teaming up to make the long A sound. This is sometimes called the magic E. Here you can see some examples of common split digraphs. We have the AE, the EE, IE, OE, and UE. Usually this is how we write them in our manuals. So you'll see it with a vowel underscore second vowel. That means it's a split digraph. Interesting thing to note at the end with the UE is we actually have 2 pronunciations for this split digraph. It can either be the oo sound, as in brute, or the U sound in huge or cube. So just a little asterisk there to note when you're passing that on to your learners. Great, so let's move on to 2 final terms which are really essential to understand. The first is segmenting. Segmenting is hearing a word and then splitting it up into its phonemes. This is a skill that's obviously really useful for spelling when you have to say the word to yourself and then split it up. to then link the letters to those phonemes. Blending is kind of the opposite. So that's putting the sounds that you already have together to form the word. So let's say we have the word bed. We segment it by turning it into b-e-d. That's segmenting. And we blend it by putting that back as bed. Bed. That leads me to our first useful phonics resource from All Aboard. This little poster here is included in the classroom pack sets, and it's a nice cheat sheet for parents or anyone substituting in your class. Just stick it up on the wall. We also have a handy phonics jargon series in our training zone on the website. We'll share with you in the session notes for you to bookmark. Just head to school info, teacher training resources. Now on this page, you will find tons of useful things linked to the online training suite. I'd recommend bookmarking this specific online training suite page as well, and we'll send a link to you in the session resources also. All of this stuff is free, whether you're premium subscribers or standard subscribers, and I would recommend that anyone who's onboarding to All Aboard Phonics for the first time goes through that video suite there. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Lucy now to go through the first 3 key phonics skills we need to be teaching our students, which is voicing phonemes, segmenting, and blending.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, so let's take a deeper look at that first skill, voicing phonemes. Now, the single most important thing we can do is to make sure that we are voicing the phonemes correctly. And that we means everyone helping the child. So this is not just the teacher and the teaching assistant for a class, but also the parents. What we're about to cover may seem natural to you, but often parents won't understand what is meant by voicing phonemes correctly. Now, we recommend directing parents to our phoneme voicing videos in their training suite. They're on our website in the parent info section. And again, we will include the link in our resources handout, but it's very easy to find in the drop-down menu. Those voicing videos are just one thing that your parents will be able to find in our training zone. You can see that it's packed with useful information, all designed to help them support what you are doing in class. Now, I'm going to show you a quick example of what the videos look like. They are really useful because they also show the grapheme and the action.
Seal with a wheel. Ant in pink pants. Toad about to explode.
Now, you might have heard her pronunciation in that clip, but let me illustrate exactly what is meant by correct voicing of phonemes by taking a really simple word like cat. If you sound it out as k-a-t, you are adding that what we call a schwa, the sound, to the end of the consonant phonemes. And then you get something close to karata when you blend them together. Now, to make it easier for the child, they need to be able to voice the phonemes really, really crisply. So, k-a-t, so that they blend straight into cat. Every consonant is at risk of having this extra schwa sound. So watch your own pronunciation like a hawk. We recommend being very vigilant in class right from the beginning and making it a game for everyone to watch out for the schwa sound being added to phonemes. We work up with a school in Doncaster who have a really brilliant approach to making sure that everyone is voicing the phonemes correctly. And they call it Hunt the Uck. Now, the uck with a book is a pictophone character for the short sound. The schwa sound will sound a bit different depending on your accent. So for some of you, it might sound more like a. So you'd be hunting the umbrella man. The uck and the umbrella man like to creep into words even when he's not invited. So if this happens, the children shout, the uck, and they try again without the uck. So this might be something that you'd like to test out as a game. Okay, let's have a little practice now at voicing the phonemes, making them as pure as possible. Please do join in. As we move through the slides, just say the sound, being careful to ensure that you don't add that extra schwa sound at the end. So, s, t, p, n, m, d, g, k, r, b, f, u, j, v, W, Y, Z. Okay. Thanks, that's great. I know it really is vital that the phonemes are voiced correctly. During our recent school visits, we had many schools playing the phoneme voicing videos regularly throughout the day. For example, one school in Stoke had the Phase 2 video on as the children arrived each morning. The children then joined in with the phoneme voicing alongside the actions. Okay, let's move on to the second and third key phonics skills, segmenting and blending. Before we do, let's just have a quick quiz question. Which term means breaking a word apart into its phonemes? Yes, segmenting is a term, and segmenting is a term used for breaking a word into its phonemes. Okay, once students are confident with voicing some phonemes, you can then start to practice the segmenting skill. And to make this segmenting practice more fun, you can play one of our segmenting games like Sound Talk. You will see it in our manuals. Now, when you play Sound Talk, everyone talks in segmented words instead of blended words like h, ow, r, y, oo, s,
Good. The anks. See if you can figure that one out.
You can combine it with other games like Sound Talk, Simon says. So, for example, Simon says, take a deep breath. Always a good reminder to breathe. Now, let's practice together just for a bit of fun. So, Simon says, give me a wave. Great job. So once your children are voicing phonemes correctly and segmenting words with these kind of games, you can then move on to blending. Now, blending is always one of your big concerns, especially if you're a reception teacher or you're working with children in intervention. We have a really handy technique which helps crack blending every time for learners, and it's called segment reblend technique. So as the children start to practice blending, you should ask them to choose a word and segment it into phonemes. By choosing the word themselves, it means that they have kept in their comfort zone and helps them focus more than if you generated a word for them. So once they have segmented the word to the best of their ability, they should then blend those sounds back together into the original word. So this might sound like flower. Flower. When they get each word right, give a big high five and celebrate, because that praise will literally help solidify this new neural process for them. And that is the whole game. Simple but amazingly effective. We recommend that each child segments and reblends 5 words in this way each day, either with you or with their parents. And in just a week or 2, they will become master segmenters and blenders. You will also see this activity popping up in some of our lesson plans, and we actually call it word breaker. It sounds a bit more fun for the children than the segment reblend technique. Let's play a quick game together now. So have a look at the 3 words on the next slide. We've got sun, beach and holiday. Out loud, see if you can segment and then reblend the 3 words. We'll do the first one together. So, sun, sun. Now try the other 2 out loud, and I'll give you 5 seconds. Sarah, would you like to demonstrate the last 2?
Yeah, we've got beach, B-E-Ch, beach, holiday, H-O-L-I-D-A, holiday.
So I hope you got those ones easy. Thanks for participating. Even if you're watching this alone or on your couch, active participation will help your brain remember. So now one more quick quiz question before we move on. We have been talking about the core phonics skills that underpin the whole of All Aboard Phonics programme. And can you name the 3 core phonics skills in All Aboard Phonics? Yeah, we've explored the essential skills of voicing phonemes, along with blending and segmenting. And of course, your students will learn other skills, but these are the 3 foundational skills for successful reading and writing. Okay, one more quiz question. What is a technique you can use to overcome those blending difficulties for learners? Yeah, well done. It's a segment reblend technique. And another question. What is a game called that you can play to help with correct phoneme voicing? Yes, it's called Hunt the Uck, or Hunt the Umbrella Man if you prefer. Fantastic, that's all of our quizzes for today. So I'm going to hand you back over to Sarah now for our final section of today's course.
Great, thanks, Lucy. So we've explored the key phonics skills. Now let's move on to us sharing with you the key phonics top tips for All Aboard specifically. These are things you can embed right away in your daily teaching of phonics. Here are the 4 we'd like to start with today. Firstly, the rule of 5 to 1, parent guidance, secondly, then AAP throughout the day, and finally, keep up, not catch up. So the rule of 5 to 1 states that you have to find 5 things to praise for each correction given. This really just means say 5 small positive words each time that you have to say no or try again to a child. Now, this positivity can just be really brief and concise, doesn't need to be over the top. You should kind of hear a lesson sounding like good, yes, great, well done, before helping when necessary. Now, this prevents a child from feeling that reading practice is a time of failure or that the adult helper is only there to provide negative reinforcement. When you do need to correct, we recommend strongly that you swap the word no for almost or so close, try again. We believe that building confidence is at the core of all learning, and ensuring that all reading practice is fun and positive by lots of praise for your pupils is a must. It's really important to drum the message home as well. If you have children, you know this can be especially hard for some reason with your own kids. It can feel a little strange giving so much praise, and it's not really as easy as it sounds, but it will make a huge difference both in your small group lessons and in the home environment. And scientific research actually supports this rule too. They've done neurological studies that show that when you praise a child, or anyone really, their brain releases dopamine. This little spike in dopamine, which is a feel-good transmitter, has been shown to correlate to increased memory retention. So that means not only do your pupils feel more positive and confident about learning to read, but they'll also be retaining more of the learning from each session as a result of your praise. So it's really a win all around. Let's move on to parent guidance. We recognize reading practice at home can be a very stressful event for parents and children. So to try to prevent this from developing in the first place, we recommend you send home a copy of our parent info sheet. You can find it at the back of every teaching manual. There's a version online. It includes the rule of 5 to 1, so we can help to reinforce that all around. And remember that great parent training zone that we showed you as well. You should definitely pass that along to parents. Our third top tip is AAP throughout the day. Now, one way to do that in reception or intervention is lots of segmented talk throughout the day. For example, do you want a snack? Or it's time to get your coat. You could even sound talk children's names when you want them to follow an instruction. Some other ideas you can embed AAP throughout the day, which we've seen other real live schools using, are playing the voicing phoneme videos, like we mentioned, when the children are coming in from lunch, having flashcards of focus phonemes that you use throughout the day, maybe when they're lining up to head somewhere else. You can also use the segment reblend technique as a home time game. Selected children maybe choose words and then the whole class segments and reblends those words. Of course, we also recommend scattering the school with some of the gorgeous All Aboard resources. The sky's the limit. There's lots you can do here. Finally, let's move on to keep up, not catch up. This is possibly the most essential tip. Now, our philosophy is to keep the class together for the daily phonics lesson and then run separate interventions, not during phonics time, for the children who need it. A few reasons for that. Firstly, it will do no harm for your less able readers to be hearing daily sessions. Much of it will be being absorbed and can be then employed when their individual challenges are overcome through intervention. For instance, often their core challenge is a difficulty with phonemic awareness and blending. Once you work on that, the GPCs you've been teaching them in the whole class sessions in the meantime will be there for them to use. Even if they're perhaps nonverbal or hardly know any English, they'll still be hearing the GPCs you're teaching in each session and absorbing that information. We know this is true because this is what pre-verbal babies do with their parents. Also, we believe that anyone running the AAP Plus intervention needs to have completed our deep dive training and fully understand how the AAP Plus intervention process works. We'll be exploring this further in our final session of this course, but if you can, start making plans now for teachers to be delivering any intervention small group. Okay, we'd like to share a short video now from Catherine Burke, who's a teacher at Barry Brow Primary, 6 months into implementation of working this way.
Hi, so I'm here at Berry Brow and I'm just talking with Catherine, who's a reception teacher, who has been implementing All Aboard Phonics in September. And I just would like to ask you how it's going and how you find the children's progress.
Yeah, so we started All Aboard in September. We've been teaching the children in reception as a whole class all together. So we've worked through phase 2, phase 3. We are currently teaching phase 4 to our children. The children are making really good progress, and it's been great to see the impact the All Aboard intervention has had on the children's progress within their phonics assessments, but also their guided reading sessions. Children this year seem much more confident to blend and apply the learning from their phonics sessions within taught sessions outside of the All Aboard phonics sessions. We found that actually the All Aboard intervention, which we've been running on a daily basis, has had a real impact for the children. So children who have struggled mainly with blending have continued to learn the new sounds alongside their peers, alongside their class, but have received intervention on top of that, which has enabled them to develop that skill of being able to blend. And as soon as that's come and clicked, they've then applied that within their phase 3 sounds as well. So the gap has closed and children haven't been held back in their learning. And we've also had parents comment as well how they've seen the children get the blending, and once it clicks, it clicks. So yeah, lots of successes.
Oh, that's great to hear. So you're keeping your children together as a whole class, moving through the phases as we recommend, and then they're receiving intervention if they need any intervention and any support. And you found that has had a real impact.
Yeah, a real impact. And the children enjoy coming to the sessions. They find them fun, they find them engaging. They particularly enjoy the pictophones that we use. And we've actually found the pictophones being used for the tricky words, which is a new thing to us here at Berry Brow, has been really useful for the children to help them understand how to decode that word as such. But then when we remove them, you can see that they have remembered that word as a tricky word.
That's great. Thank you ever so much. Thank you, Catherine.
Okay, I hope that was useful for you all. We're also going to drop a little blog post about this keep up, not catch up philosophy into the session resources for you to read and perhaps share with colleagues later. Okay, so we are nearly at the end of today's session. Let's have a quick recap of what we covered today. We covered why phonics is the most successful approach to literacy and the foundation of that. We covered the key phonics skills that are taught in All Aboard and our top tips for success. Now, let's play a quick game before we say goodbye. I am going to say 4 phonemes, and you see if you can figure out which one I'm pronouncing the wrong way. I'm basically asking you to hunt the ook. S, m, t. Did you find it? It was the M, the M phoneme that I put a schwa on the end. It's a fun game to play. Okay, a little homework for you before the next session. We would love you to play Hunt the Ook or Hunt the Umbrella Man with your children. And we would like you to get them all doing this segment reblend process. Great for any children who are struggling to blending. In reception, great for everyone. Okay, that is the end of the content for today. Have you learned anything new that can be used in your classroom? Please let us know. There'll be a poll at the end for you to give us some feedback and a rating. We know how busy you all are, so we really want to make sure these sessions are as useful as possible so we're not wasting anybody's time. Remember, you can email us at schools@allaboardlearning.com with any questions. We are always so happy to hear from you. Otherwise, that's it for today, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.